Just washed my sheets, putting it back on the bed. That always takes longer than I hope it will. But there we go, back to normal. Sometimes in van life, problems arise. And I've had a little problem recently. Well, it's happened over the last few weeks. I've wet my bed. Well, not me, personally, but this little guy here has wet my bed. This is my water filter. I know I've had a lot of questions about this water filter. This is a water filter that I put together myself. This is what's called a gravity water filter. You put dirty water in the top, and the clean water will drip down into the container below. So this is the water filter. This is, like I said, a homemade version. You may have heard of a Berkey filter. This is very similar to that in the top chamber, this is just a restaurant supply food container. You can buy it at any restaurant supply store or online, made by a company called CamperVan. If you've eaten at a restaurant, you've probably had food that was stored in this container. Now, all I did was buy a couple of containers, and as you can see, it doesn't really matter what the containers are. You just have to be able to drill through the bottom of one and the top of the other. So what happens here is you've got these filters, they call these filter candles, that sit inside the dirty water side, dirty water chamber side. And when I say dirty, it means, I mean that it's just water that you want to be filtered. So that goes in the top. These filter candles are sealed into place. There's little rubber grommets and some little tiny nuts and washers, basically, that hold the water candle, the water filter candle, into the jug. So when you put water in the top, it filters through those filter candles and down into the chamber below. And then, of course, how I access the clean water that's on the bottom, clean side of this little contraption is just a water spigot. And that, again, you can find at restaurant supply stores or online. So the problem I'm having here is the lid. So basically this lid that seals the top of this clean side shut is leaking just slightly. And also there is one other problem that is leaking just a little bit, but I'll get into that a little bit later. So I had a couple options about fixing this. One, of course, was just buying a brand new filter. This one works just fine, and I'm at the point where I need to replace the filter candles. So I'm not sure what filter candles I'm going to be replacing this with, what brand. I might stick with the same brand that I'm using now, made by a company called Dalton. I might switch to the Berkey filters. So while I make up my mind with that, I figure I'm just going to take the cheap and easy way out here and just fix this. And that's going to be really easy. All I really need to do is get a new bottom chamber. So since I've never had a problem with this type of container leaking, I went ahead and just bought another one. So I went to the restaurant supply store, I bought the same container that this is, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a couple of holes in the bottom or in the top of this, and then I need to drill a hole in the side of this for the spigot, and that's pretty much that. So that's what I've opted to do right now, just because it's the easy way, and it gives me a little time to decide what filters I want to buy to replace these. So I think the first step will be emptying out this water, because this is the clean side of the water, so don't want to toss that out since I have to buy all my water. I'll empty that into my water bottle, and then that will allow me to take this apart and get that off, because I'm going to reuse this. Okay, I've got this all apart, and I think I'm going to use that as a template to cut the new, drill the new holes for the new top. And I think all I will do is, I've got some spring clamps here. I'll just clamp this together. That'll hold it steady, and then I can make my holes with my drill and make sure that they're spaced properly. Now, one little note about drilling through this type of plastic. This is not the thickest plastic, and it's actually a little bit brittle, as you can probably see from here. See, that's a crack. I got a little overzealous when I had drilled these out before, so I don't want to do that again. You might be tempted to use one of these spade bits, and while that will work, they have a tendency to grab and splinter. So, so if you don't want to do this, the better drill bit to use is either just a regular drill bit if you've got one large enough. This one happens to be 1/2 inch, so that'll work for that. And when I go to drill the hole for the new spigot, that's a little bit bigger. I think that's 3/4 of an inch. So I've got this hole saw, and that, since that is completely round, it should be able to drill a hole without causing any splintering or any damage. So these are a little pricey. These are really cheap. Don't cheap out, because if you mess up, you're going to have to run back to the restaurant supply store and buy yourself another bucket. I'm not near the restaurant supply store, and there's not going to be one open, so I want to be careful and not make any mistakes here. All right, success. I've got that one drilled and no splintering. I did want to point out that there are some burrs of plastic when you drill, so you just want to remove those little plastic burrs so that you get a good tight seal. These little spigots normally have a silicone seal that you can see there, and there's another one that goes on the inside. So as long as it's a flush cut, then these will seal up. If they're not, if I don't deburr those, then those will cause this to leak a little bit. So I'll do that now and put this all back together again. Okay, that about does it. It is finished, all put back together again. It's a little taller than what I would really like. It makes it a little bit hard for me to get water in on the top, just because it's so tall and I don't have a lot of roof height above this once I have it in place. But I'm hoping that this will leak a little bit less. It probably will. I had jugs very similar to this on my first version of this, and the only reason I changed it was to give myself a little lower platform so that I could pour the water in a little bit easier. But I think it's better not to leak and leak all over my bed anyway. Now, just one last little piece of advice. If you're going to try to make one of these, you need to add some little vent holes. And I've got 2 on the top of this one. You can just barely see them here. In fact, they don't really even need to be that big, but they just need to be a little bit of a vent hole to allow some air in. Now, I've got another one down here. I tried to make this one a little bit smaller. Where am I? Right there. Tried to make that one a little bit smaller. It is very small. I may have to add a second one. We'll see how it goes. Interestingly enough, the one that I just replaced here wasn't actually leaking around the lid like I had thought at first when I saw it was starting to leak, but it was actually leaking out of those little air holes that I had on the old one. So I'm trying to make this one as small as possible, so hopefully it doesn't leak. The problem is, if you don't have those little vent holes, the water inside will cause a vacuum, and it will just stay in the top chamber. It won't filter down into the bottom chamber. So you've got to have those little something to allow the pressure from the water to go through the filter and into the bottom jug. So if you're going to try to make one, don't forget the air holes. Just don't make them too big, or otherwise you may have a leaky bed like me. Don't wet your bed, folks. Don't wet your bed. It's embarrassing. That's all done. I'm just going to do a little leak testing, and if all goes well, I'll fill up the water and have a little water for coffee later. Well, I hope you found this video at least a little bit useful. I know I've just kind of given you a basic overview of what I've done and how I've done it. I did want to say that if you're interested in buying these products, I always recommend using Google. Use Google. When you type it into the search bar, what you're looking for, be specific. Type it in plain English. Type it in and then type in near me and then hit the little shopping button. It will give you choices of where you can find these products that are probably close to you. You can get these products on Amazon, obviously, and I know everybody likes Amazon links, but every single one is more expensive on Amazon. So if you're looking for a deal, don't go to Amazon. If you want a good deal, use Google. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Now, I have kind of relented a little bit since most of you keep asking for Amazon links. I went ahead and made an Amazon affiliate link. Now, it's been active for several months, and I haven't mentioned it because I don't like people to use Amazon, but I use it not to make money on. I use it just as a way to show you where these products are, what the products are, where you can find them. So the fact is, I haven't given Amazon my tax information, so I can't make any money off of it, and I really don't intend to. It's really just there for you guys that want an easy way to find some of the products I use. So it's there. You can find it down in the description of each video. I put it in each one. I just don't talk about it because I don't like Amazon. I like using Google. So I'm sorry to get on a soapbox about that, but I really feel strongly about it. I can be quite wasteful with money, but when it comes to buying things, I really like to get my hands on them and buy them locally. So that's what I like to do, and that's what I encourage everybody else to do. And I encourage everybody else to do it because it is usually the cheapest option. So like I said, I hope that helps a little bit, and I hope you found some use in this. And as always, I just like to say thanks for watching. I really appreciate it.